Good afternoon, Longhouse. UK. Was it about the evening time around there, Mr.
Yeah,
Salim?
it's
Yeah.
clock. Yeah, right now,
Oh,
6 p.m.
okay. So unusual time frame, but hey, we're here with the one and only Abu Salim. My brother, how you doing today?
I'm really good. I'm excited. You know what's funny, man? I've been really waiting for this interview. Like I've been waiting for
Yeah.
this. Yeah, I've been actually quite pumped for it. You know, as I said, like I said before we started, like I've seen you guys, and I really love what you guys do, and the conversations you guys have. So to kind of get involved in that is cool, man. I'm ready for it. You know, I'm pumped for it. I can't wait.
Hey, so I want you to know what, because you've been hustling out here. You've been everywhere in the streets promoting the game. Tales of Kenzera, ZAU.
Yeah.
Whenever it slows down a bit, anytime you want to hop in, let me know. You here? You
I will.
family? You
No,
family
I will.
now?
I will, man. I definitely will. Please, because that'd be good. That'd be really good.
Yeah, anytime, man. So to start things off proper, as you can tell, we're doing an interview with Mr. Salim on his latest game by Surgent Studios, Tales of Kenzera, ZAU. But before we get into the first question, Abu Salim, from the bottom of my heart, I think I speak for all of us. I speak for our community. As a person of color, as an actor, as a voice actor, and starting their own studio at a fairly young age, mind you, right? And seeing the success that you've accumulated over the years. I just want to say, and it probably won't mean much because I'm a nobody, but I'm extremely proud of you, man.
Like, thank you, man.
Like for real. Like when I see you on stage or I see you in an interview, I'm like, this brother is killing it. I love it.
For sure.
I love it.
No, I really appreciate that, man. I really do, because it's funny. Like growing up, I didn't necessarily see many kind of role models like me, and there were few and far between. And when I did see them, they meant something, and it was inspiring. And I think like it's important. So thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Well,
I really am.
So the little kid that you were seeing other people, like that's what you are now. You grown into that. You know what I mean? Like,
oh man, I love that. Thank you.
Super great, man. So we'll start with the first question. You know, your time is precious. So as a softball, Black Skeleton wants to hit you with the first question.
Go on.
Yeah. Just a little quick one. What can you tell us about your favorite or most motivating video games?
Yo, I mean, I listed a few of them at the Game Awards, right? So, you know, I mentioned Kingdom Hearts. That had a real hit on me. And it's funny, like I saw a post, I think it was by Keeley actually, that said like it was 22 years ago that it was from today. Like I think it was posted. And I was like, 22 years ago. I was like 9. It's crazy. So, you know, that had an impact on me. I think again, just because it showed me a character which, you know, was vulnerable or who just wanted to get his friends back, right? And I remember, you know, I think my dad got it from Blockbusters, which is like, you know, a rental store, right? And then you can just pick up a game when they did games. And I remember playing it in my room, just being like, this is crazy, but there's something really cool about this. And it just took me on a journey. And that was really, you know, instrumental to me. I think another big one actually was, funnily enough, World of Warcraft. I used to play a hell of a lot of World of Warcraft when I was growing up, man. Like I love World of Warcraft, and it was, I think that was the first time actually playing online with like friends and like as a community, and actually making friends with people who I've never met in real life. Like that was, you know, the big one for me, and I think that was really, really important. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty high up there. I remember having this like dream as a kid of being like, you know, when I'm old enough and I've got my own house and everything, I'm going to just play World of Warcraft for, you know, whatever, as long as I want. Obviously you got to work. So that didn't happen, but hey, still get there, you know?
Absolutely. That's good, dear man. Those are great games, man. Those are long. Kingdom Hearts, I'm a personal fan of, and World of Warcraft. Nova can tell you a lot more than I can about it. He was on that.
I played that game non-stop, man. I used to roll out of the bed before I would brush my teeth and log right on in.
Log right on. Yeah. Honestly, I remember there was one time we had a raid. There was a raid and it was after school, and it was like, it was just with a random group of people that they were doing this raid with. And I remember being like, okay, cool, I'm ready. It was after school. And my mum decided that she needed milk, and she sent me out to go and run and get some milk. And the store is a bit like, it's like 10 minutes down the road, right? And I was a pretty big kid when I was younger. Like I was, I loved my food. Anyway, I have never ran so fast in my life. I was for milk, bro. I literally was like AFK, be right back. Ran, got the milk, came back sweating. I still came back for the team. I was terrified that they'd just leave me, man. But yeah, it's that game had a big impact.
Nice. Yeah, I intentionally stayed away from it because I saw everybody else getting sucked into it.
Man.
So.
Time sink, man. Pure time sink, dude.
Yeah. Before I get to the next question, I want to shout out Black Girl Gamers for the B-roll. We show a little bit of the Xbox release footage at the beginning, and then there was like the first 20 minutes of Mr. Salim's game, Tales of Kenzera. So enjoy, and we'll try to loop it when we see fit. So for the next question, so we talked a little bit at the beginning about how we know you. We know you from like Raised by Wolves, like as an actor, voice actor in Assassin's Creed Origins. So from transitioning from that to being the CEO and founder of Surgent Studios, what was the biggest reality check that you faced during that transition?
Oh man, you know what? I think it was one of those ones where, so the actual transition happened, and because I've always had this passion and want to tell stories, right? Just to, I grew up, as I said, like, playing World of Warcraft and, kind of immersing myself in these cool fantasy worlds. And, I was a nerd, right? I was, D&D was my thing, right? And I think I just didn't have the confidence to kind of tell these stories. And one of the biggest realizations I think I had, or one of the biggest learnings, is that like confidence is kind of made up. It's actually really, truly, it exists in everyone. And actually it's there. You just got to do it, and it's okay to fail. And I think there was a moment as I was filming Raised by Wolves, and I was in South Africa at the time, and I've got all these ideas and these things that I wanted to do, and start this like company and to make games and everything. And I was like, but I've never made a game before. I don't know what that means. And I'm like, these are the exact same obstacles I put in myself, like being an actor. I never knew what it meant to be an actor or how to become an actor, but I just did it. I just was like, okay, I'll just see how it goes along, how it goes along the way. And slowly, surely you learn on the job, or you learn on the journey. And still sometimes you feel a bit fake. But that's the thing. It's like, I think you can never wait for the right moment. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It's like the 100%. Realization is like, you can never wait for the right moment. You just have to do it. And I think that really hit me, especially when I was, it's like, okay, Ridley Scott said yes to me, right? That's huge. Like this guy, like of all people, you know what I mean? So like, why can he say yes to me, but I can't say yes to myself? You know what I mean? And so I was just like, okay, cool. Let me just go for it. Let me just do it, because rather than necessarily talk about it, let me just actually action on it. And yeah, that was a big that was the realization that happened between like being an actor to then like starting my own company,
Right. Yeah, that's good. Good. Yeah. Go ahead, Nova. Sorry.
Oh no, because I was gonna say, like, because oftentimes we'll look at something like a big old huge goal, and we're just like, hey, like that's a huge goal, man. Maybe I can't do that, and we tend to talk ourselves out of things that we can do, and we can make our own stamp on the world, if we just try and believe in ourselves. Because confidence definitely does come from within, and you got to believe it yourself first before others will believe you.
And I think that's the thing, and it's like I know it sounds simple, but it is hard, but it's weird, because I think even like myself, like I still feel like, you know, I still feel like an imposter, like, you know, half the time.
We
like,
all get that.
you know,
Yeah.
it's always, man. And like there's always something out there that will try and, you know, it's like a reality check or bring you back down. But ultimately, you've just got to keep, like, you just got to keep doing it. And I've also, that's the other thing, you realize also that no one has any idea what the hell they're doing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember, like, for example, on set working with Ridley, and like the, you know, the ship that me and Mother land on, that kind of the smooth sort of silver ship, and I'm looking at it, it's like, oh man, this is really cool. Like, this is an interesting design of a ship, you know, it's really interesting. And I remember talking to Ridley, being like, you know, how did you come up with this? Because I knew he was an artist, and he's done all this stuff and everything. He was just like, and he turned around to me, he said, I just woke up and looked at my razor. And I was like, what do you mean your razor? He's like, just as in the shaver. He's like, yeah, the shaver, the shape of the shaver looked like a ship. And I was like, this is cool. I'm like, what? Like, you're lying to me. Like, no, man. Okay, cool. So yeah, so this is it. So that's the thing, man.
Yeah, and the thing with like imposter syndrome and I guess starting where you are, right? Like when I called Skellington and Nova, I was like, hey, you guys want to start a podcast on the 5th of December? And it was like, I was like, all we gotta do is just press that live button and we'll just see how it happens. What happens, you know? And then like every time we get off air, we're like, are we really doing this? Like, is it like why are people subscribing to us? It's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
But we just gotta keep doing it, fake it till you make it. And then, the higher you go up, like you said, the more you realize everybody's kind of in the same boat.
Everyone's in the same boat, man. Everyone is in the same boat. And you know, the thing is, I guess it's like the difference is obviously as you go on the journey, you're opening yourself up to learning while you're doing it, right?
Correct.
And you're adapting as well to the, you know, to the things and elements that are changing. And that's what kind of separates, you know, the people who really are just almost like going at it for the sake of either fame or trying to do something. And you can kind of tell like they're almost like, okay, you're just hamming this up, to the actual people who evolve over time. And, you know, you can see their evolution. And as audience members, you kind of like that as well. You know, I genuinely feel like a different actor than I was when I started, for example. You know, I'm able to kind of, I feel like a lot more confident to take on those bigger roles. Whereas, you know, I think beforehand, I used to think I was ready for these big roles, but there's a lot to learn technically in order to kind of, you know, maneuver this kind of stuff. It's even with like this game, right? Like I came in with a big ambition, with a big idea of what I wanted, you know, ZAU to be, you know, and actually the longer I spent time in it and the more we went through the development cycle, which is tough. You know, it has, you know, you're thrown into these scenarios where you have to make tough decisions, where you have to cut things that you thought couldn't be cut, or scope down on elements, you know, and you're like, oh man, okay, then I have to pull back. I have to pull back, because if you didn't pull back, it would cost something else, you know, and that's the kind of reality you've got to kind of wrestle with all the time.
100%.
Yeah,
I get that. It's like give and take.
Yeah, totally.
Yes. And sometimes that's hard too, right? Like you really want something, but they're telling you, you know, hey, we gotta
this is it. This is it, man.
Oh man. No, but I think you have a question.
Definitely, man. Because I'm glad that we definitely went on the topic of, you know, just go ahead and start, you know, and get you some experience, and then you can go ahead and get it done, because that's something similar to what the main character experiences in this game too. You know, he's a shaman. You know, he wants to go ahead and talk to the god of death. So the demo starts off with ZAU pleading with the god of death in what looks like an ancestral plane of sorts to assist him with getting his Baba back. You know, return to him. So even though he's a shaman himself, he seems to be slightly unready to take on the task without his father. Can you expound upon the settings of the game in that nature? Because
absolutely. I think, you know, so really like the kind of the backstory, and you'll kind of learn about it as well. Like it's all based off this poem that, you know, is kind of alluded to at the beginning, where it's all about shamans going in with you know, calling for the god of death, knowing that there's these three great spirits that they have to bring back, and if they are successful at it, they'll get whatever they wish for, right? And it's, Kalunga almost alludes to like, oh, okay, it's this young boy who wants this dream, this idea of like power or wealth or whatever, but he simply asks for his father back. And there is a sense of, I think, again, I remember at the time after losing my dad, there was this wash of feelings of like, I wish, can I reverse time? Is this a dream? Is this a nightmare? Like, I don't know what's happening. But all you can do is move forward. And I think really, truly, that's where ZAU is at. He is literally like, I don't know what's going on, but I just need to move forward because I know that I can bring my father back here. I am in a world and a reality that this can actually happen. And so, yes, he isn't ready. He will never, I think that's the thing with grief. You're never ready for it. You're never ready for that. What journey you're about to go on. However, some people, and especially men, go with this idea of like, screw it. You know what? I'm going to muscle up. I'm going to man up. I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to handle it because I'm a man. And I think like that's where ZAU begins. And that's also where I kind of began, especially, after my father passed. It was very much the mentality of like, all right, cool, I'm the man of the house now. I'm his only son. I've got to keep up the name. And I realized that it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. So that's sort of where I wanted to start this journey, or where I wanted to start with ZAU, especially with death as well, right next to him, and playing in that fact as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. You have a follow-up, Nova, at all? Or
I didn't.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Scale.
Yes.
I think you're up next, man.
Cool. I also had another question. I wondered what challenges you face as a creative director when in a collaborative environment, and how is the team synergy when developing a game? Because it takes a whole team to usually create games. So I'm just curious of how the team synergy was.
Yeah, no, it's important to listen, basically. I don't have all the answers. The only thing I have is an idea of a feeling, and I've got to be open to the idea of also knowing that the team know more than me in this specific area. And as soon as you kind of throw that ego out, as soon as you accept the fact that it is a team making this game, everything becomes a lot easier. I might come in with an idea, like, for example, I wanted 3 masks, right? I entered in this with 3 masks, and we designed the game and built this game with 3 masks in mind. But then as kind of we went along, my lead designer, Zai, he ended up saying, look, it's hard to kind of balance all these 3 masks because, we've got 2 melee and 1 range. Like, how is this going to, one can feel good, one can feel weird. Like every time we switch one, it kind of off balances off the other. And for a while, I was very much like, no, it will make sense. It will make sense. It will make sense. And then literally he was just like, hey, listen, let's just try 2 masks for now. Please, let's just try 2 masks. And I'm like, okay, cool. We tried 2 masks and it was amazing. And what's so funny is like, normally a lot of the time, or from what I've learned, is like creative directors or people out there who believe themselves to be like, gods, would have turned around and been like, this is a lame idea of 3 works. And it ends up essentially spiraling down the hole that way. But I was very much like, this is dope. Let's move forward. And it's like, as soon as you accept it and you kind of move on, you're like, all right, that's where I was wrong. I was wrong in that front. Let's build on this. The game just evolves and the journey just evolves. Your team evolves as well, because, one person who might have kept quiet because from a previous experience of learning, like, yeah, if I say something right now, my boss is going to have my neck. If you give them an environment to actually be free to speak and actually be like, no, actually, I think this is a really cool idea. You just send the game, just as I say, like you find a lot more creativity through just being more open and being able to just accept that you don't have all the answers. So the synergy, I think, it's funny because we're a first team. This is the first time we've ever worked with one another. This is our debut game. Like, there are so many challenges in that as well, because you're learning about one another, right? I only know these folks for like some are even under a year. Like it's really kind of fresh. But as soon as you open the space and are like, hey, we're all here to learn and make mistakes, but we all know that we want to build something beautiful, you're already on a good path.
Yes, 100%.
Definitely.
You know?
And I definitely think that like sticking to those two powers worked out really well, because it's really nice to switch between the two, you know, because I'm trying to think about switching between 3 different powers in the demo.
Yeah,
and you never
it'd be
would really
weird,
know.
right? No, you wouldn't know, and it's funny the difference between 2 and 3. Like, and we had it so that you would have on the on the left bumper and the right bumper that you could switch between each one basically by on a dime, but it just became a bit too much. And it just became a bit weird, and it was just like, no, let's get it on 2, because that 2 it feels nice, And so, yeah, it really evolved the game and brought something beautiful through it.
It definitely felt like a dance between the powers. I was enjoying that for sure in the demo. So thank you. I'm glad you answered that.
And then the way that you like you said, you switch between the two, Nova, like, yeah, it makes it so much like better to like do different combo iterations and hurry up and switch when an enemy's far away. And it's super cool. Was the third mask, I think, was supposed to be based off of the Nigerian boxing.
Yeah, Dambe.
Right?
Man. Yeah, I remember watching. So I watched a clip of these 2 boys fighting, and like it just looked insane. It looked incredible. I was like, this is really cool. Like, why haven't we got this in our game? And I was like, I remember telling the team, like, this is the third mask, and like showing them that same clip, and they were all like, okay, dope. And we kind of went with it. And so the third mask was very much like a melee sort of like brawler kind of attacker, and quite bestial. But again, as we realized it, actually there was a really nice beauty with the sun mask, and how it was almost like a chaotic ballet. There was this this element of danger and chaos with it, and then you have the technical, cerebral, logical moon mask. It almost felt like, where does the beast sit in? You know what I mean? And I think like actually we then just took that kind of that green mask of Dambe or where that inspiration came from, and just put them in both in some way, shape, or form.
Right. No, that's really good. Yeah, I think we can park it there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because the game itself is very beautiful, and it's crazy that you say like this is our first game, and to have something so beautiful on the screen, man.
Yeah,
and on top of the beautiful visuals, man, the music in the game was phenomenal. We're greeted with like an accompaniment of strings and flutes and tons of percussive instruments. Can you tell us the thought process of not only creating like awesome, great music, but adding instruments that's culturally fitting to the characters?
Yeah. Again, during the beginning of this, again, no idea what it means to make a game, but I remember listening to Nanita Desai's musical score previously beforehand, and I reached out to her and I was like, I want you to compose the score for ZAU, and she was like, oh great, yeah, sure, definitely. How far are you in development? I'm like, we haven't even got a publisher, we don't even know. Guy doesn't even move on a pad, like it's just, I just want you. And she she was down for it. She was really into it, and she herself she's half South African, half East African. She understands like what I was trying to do and where I wanted to go with it. And I kept talking to her about this idea of a duality, this sense of like, I guess because what you end up learning essentially is that ZAU is a character within a book that the Zuberi reads in the sort of the future. Essentially, he's reading this book of ZAU that his father has written and passed to him. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to capture this element of this different cultures in a way. Like, his father's from one ilk, he is from another, right? And so I wanted the traditional music, but also I wanted to clash that with what Zuberi might listen to. And so there is a sense of like, okay, you got you got drums, but then you got synths. It's this sense of like, what would you do if you mix like, Fela Kuti with like tenant. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like the
Mhm.
idea that I wanted to play with. And that's sort of where it all comes from. It comes, the traditional elements is the father speaking to the son, but then the synths is the son speaking to the father. And sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And I guess, another good example is like, what they do in, Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales, right?
Mhm.
It's like there is this feeling of like, yeah, you got the Spider-Man track that you know and love and you feel, but then at the same time you got you got where Miles is from and you got his music,
Right.
Yeah,
and
yes.
that
It's
feeling. And do you know what I mean? It's that synergy of like, this shouldn't work, but it does. You know what I mean? And I think that's the kind of thing that I wanted to play with.
Yeah, it's the cultural differences, and you can definitely hear that within the music, which is crazy, because like when people have to score movies or TV or whatever, like people don't realize this, but the score makes a tremendous difference.
It really does
in movies, TVs, games. And I didn't notice that until this is off topic, until I watched what was the second Prometheus movie? I forgot. What was that?
Is it Covenant?
It's called Covenant, I think, or whatever. And for some reason it just didn't match or whatever. And when you can start telling the score is there, like it's kind of, you can hear it. Yeah. And yeah, so that I have a deep appreciation for score or using no music to heighten the tension. You know what I mean? So yeah, good on you guys for the way you guys have.
It was important, right? And I think one thing that really stood out to me, like music plays such an important aspect of our lives. Like it really does. Like from so young to even now, like it continues to. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, whenever I do something or whenever I want to make something, the music, it's about the music has to land, because there is so much emotion that can be packed in music that can't be packed in anything else. It's funny, like as an actor, we're taught that musicals, for example, like to see a good musical or see a good musical actor, the reason as to why they have to sing is because they can't express anything else in normal chat or dialogue. Like that's where it comes from, and that's where you feel it. Like they have to sing because it's the only way they can communicate to you. And it's like when you start thinking about it that way, you're like, yeah, music just speaks to a different level of us, when it really hits. And it's like you get people lost in a trance sometimes. And I think that's why for me, and working with Nanita so early, it was great to kind of conjure the tracks that we did, because it could tell a story in itself,
Right.
Definitely.
So speaking on the music and like cultural backgrounds and stuff like that, like there's a rich African cultural heritage here, like within the game. And sometimes people put Africa into like a monolith type of thing to where, like
so big, though.
It's so
humongous
big.
continent,
humongous. It's a continent. Like there's so many different variants between the different countries, like the people and stuff like that. So can you share about the specific region or African culture that inspired the game style and the narrative?
So for one, so Amandla, Zulu, very much kind of pulling from the Zulu. Again, the reason why I was in South Africa, I was very much exposed to all these these cultures, right? And sort of the idea that was kind of like my base. I then looked at the Ndebele tribe as well, a very much South African tribe, and the kind of the geometry art style that they bring is really kind of gorgeous and great. And like in my eyes, the reason why I used it within the first sort of segment of the game, within the highlands, within that sort of sort of floating space as a whole, it's really truly because some people might look at the Ndebele art and be like, oh man, this is causing me anxiety, or it's causing me to feel like there's just so much going on, right? But then and that to me was really it's again, that's the beauty of the art, right? So you can also find peace in it. You can also find, calm within the actual shape and it making sense. So that was, a big kind of influence. The Botswana, the Swana people, they're, big kind of influence there. The Maasai, again, huge influence within Kuruka, which is sort of Okivuli, sorry, which is essentially the forest, which Swahili means shadow. So it's like, I've pulled from these specific kind of elements to kind of play with and toy with, even like the Impundulu, which is the lightning bird, which is very much a South African beast of creation. You've also then got the Tokolosh, which is also another South African beast. The Kikiawan, which you'll also see and meet within within your kind of adventures in this story, is very much kind of a beast also from that sort of area. So yeah, there's all sorts of like kind of specifically pulled from these places, because you're right, it's huge. Like I think a lot of people also think like the Yoruba, for example, are like part of the Bantu, and it's like, no, the Yoruba are their own beasts of their own. Like, you know what I mean? And that's like a whole story in itself as well. And it's like, and their gods and their pantheon is insane. So it's like, so this is kind of the beauty of playing in Africa, because there's just so much. It isn't just one thing, right? It is literally, you can focus on one story here or one place here and get reams of it, like your whole Greek mythology just on the Yoruba, for example. You know what I mean?
And I feel like we need that. Like, so here in the States, as African Americans, we're so far removed from true African culture, right? Like as far as the old way or the pantheons and gods and stuff like that. The first time I was really exposed to it, I'm not gonna lie, was American Gods with Anisi. Right, or whatever. So then I started researching more and more stuff like that. So I think games like this, man, like shout out to you for bringing this to the table for us, because then even if our heritage isn't specifically from that region, at least we get to learn something about the mother country. You know what I mean? Which is so cool,
man. It's like, and I think like this is the thing, and I think for me, it's funny because even you do get that also here in the UK, where like if you're second or third generation, sometimes you even forget like where you're from. Like I'm very lucky in the fact that my mum and dad are from Kenya. So when they came, they were immigrants essentially that moved here to the UK. I was born in the UK, but I was very much exposed to what Kenya is and the stories of what my father would tell me. So that kind of that access was really important, and I think like keeping that alive is so important. Like even now I look at my daughter, I'm it's not even a question now. I know she must learn Swahili, because that's what I learned, and that's what that's how I was brought up, and it's to keep that kind of element of idea going, because it's so easy to disappear, and it's also so easy to be taken from you. And I think like that's the thing, and I think for me it's like, as long as I can keep it, alive, or inspire people to look into it more, or even to look into the other elements of it and find, other areas there, that's important. Like I mean, I always talk about this as well. I say, like, I love Kenya and Kenya's my home, but there was something about stepping foot on South Africa and being in South Africa that made me feel like, oh, this speaks and hits different. Now, why is that? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, even though I know my family is from Kenya, and I am technically Kenyan, I've got the passport to prove it, but there's something about South Africa that speaks to me. And that's the beauty of that space. That's the beauty of Africa, man. Like there's everyone was moving, everyone was, was talking, and that's why it's almost like, just no matter what it is, like just as long, just touching base with the roots is like, it's powerful, bro. Like it really is.
For sure.
I totally agree. Because I got a chance to make it out there to South Africa, to Cape Town, actually middle of last year for the first time, for a specific reason of like, well, not the specific reason, but one of the reasons for going was just to experience the culture. Like even the tree in the background right here is very reminiscent of like what I think it's called a baobab tree. Nature, right? And then there's also other different foliages, like different trees that we don't have over here in the States that, that's over there in South Africa. So no, it's really, really cool, man, to see that. So for me to see this, it's almost like you have like a homework assignment for the people that can't make it to the motherland, and you can get kind of slow drip of some of the cultures, you know what I'm saying, sprinkled out within this game, man. So the colors, the music,
and that's the thing, man. Like for me, it's like I told this to the team. Like I said, it's about inspiring people to kind of going, to looking more into it. We want to celebrate these cultures rather than educate. For example, I always look at, for example, like God of War. I think God of War does a great job of, especially, I mean, when I look at the recent one, it gave, not Ragnarok, sorry, the 2018 one. It gave me an interesting look into the Norse mythology, because it told a decent and good story, right? And so I was like, this is really cool. I want to learn more. And like I go into this wiki wormhole of learning more about these families and these, these characters, which I kind of heard of in the background, but because I fell in love, I was interested in these characters. I wanted to learn more. And I think that's what happens when you tell good stories, right? And this is something that I wanted to do with this game. I didn't want to, shove down your throat and tell you exactly where everyone is from. This truly, at the end of the day, this is a story about grief, and it's about the journey of grief. The only, the biggest reason as to why it's set in Africa is because it's from my perspective. You know what I mean? And my dad's African, so it's like I want to be honest. I want to be truthful. I want to be authentic. So that's where it comes from. But ultimately, truly, it is about grief. And I think, like, when you come at it of being like, actually, I do want to kind of connect, it just sinks in more. You take it in a lot more,
100%.
Definitely, man. With this game, though, you do play with two masks themselves, man. You have the moon focusing more on grace and agility, the sun more fury and dominance, it seems like. This is a delicate dance between the two opposing forces. Sometimes a person's story can find its way into the art that it's being created, like you just said. So is there a time where you experience having to do this delicate balance between these two?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, it's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's every question I get asked. I don't know whether I'm going to dominate this conversation or I'm going to be like really kind of graceful with it. No, it is. I think that was the one thing that kind of was very much. It was exposed to me, especially after losing my father. I think everything became very raw. So everything felt like intense, the moments of sadness felt intense, anger felt intense, the relief or the kind of relaxation was super, it was almost tiring. Like it was just, I think that kind of balance, this idea of this feeling of not using one over the other, it's kind of like life and death in a way. It's this dance. I think it's important because I think, again, it's this whole sense of you can go too far in one way and lose yourself and kind of lose friends, lose many things, or you could go the other way. And again, it has the same effect. You've got to kind of find this middle ground and kind of play this dance, not only with yourself, but with the people around you too. So that's something that we really wanted to emulate here. We wanted to emulate this sense of like, the way I kind of, explained what the sun was, or what, the mask of the sun kind of represented was, it's that feeling of, you just don't want to do anything in the world. You're just so tired and you just want to go to like a club and dance. You just want to listen to the music, close your eyes and dance. You don't care about anyone around you. You just want to move. And that's kind of what, the sun kind of in my eyes represents. It's life. It's this sense of just continually going. Whereas you look at the, the mask of the moon, and it's, as I say, it's almost like cerebral, almost like there's a logic to essentially everything, a preciseness, a sense of like, even the agility, like when it feels like the movement is precise, it's for a reason. It's to keep people back. It's to kind of be in control. It's the sense of trying to keep control. And that's that sense. We're always dabbling with this question of like, am I in control or am I not? Do I say it or do I don't? And that gets, the ante of that gets ramped up, in heightened emotional stakes, like, going through grief.
Yeah. That's big facts. Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better. That was great.
Yeah,
That was
laid it out
it.
perfectly.
I was like, damn, I ain't got no follow up to that. Nothing. I was like,
Well said, sir. Well
yes,
said.
it was, man.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. I have a question. I'm actually wondering, was there anything in this game specifically or something that you just had, it had to be in the game? Did you have anything that special or personal to you that just had to be in it? I'm curious.
It had to be. It had to have like Swahili in it, and it had to be voiceover in
okay.
Swahili. That was like I remember pitching to EA. I was telling them about this game and this and everything, and I said, it doesn't, and I remember at the time being like, look, it doesn't have to be like set in, African mythology. I understand, like, maybe some people might not understand it, but but then at the same time, I was like, but it's got to be in Swahili. They were like,
Exactly.
hang on, what do you mean? I was like, no, it's well, it's got to be in Swahili, and because to me that's true. That's my dad spoke to me in Swahili, like I speak in Swahili, so they're like, so how can it be anything else than Africa? I'm like, hey, that's your like so you gotta figure out, right?
Right.
So you probably.
Yeah, exactly. But we got it though, man. We because it's the first time EA has ever done anything in Swahili, which is great. So that was a real learning process for them as well as for us, right?
Yeah.
So you're making history in more ways than one, it seems.
Right, man. Trying to change the game.
We're here for it, man. You got our full support, man.
Oh.
So you're talking about EA a little bit.
Mm.
So, and we all know like collaborations within games can be like game changers, like within the industry. So I was wondering, like, what was it like working with EA, and how did that relationship shape the development of Tales of Kenzera?
Yeah, so EA. So funnily enough, they were the only people I pitched to when I had come up with this idea for this game, because at the time, again, I didn't really know what it meant to make a game. I knew I wanted to make one, but I had no idea like what it would take. But a friend of mine was working at EA at the time, and he was like, dude, have you at least got a deck or something? And I was like, I don't know, I've got these scribblings on a pad. And he sent those scribblings to EA and got the meeting with them. And since that first meeting, they have been incredibly open and honest and just like helpful in regards to guiding me as to what it means to work in the games industry. Right.
Okay.
And I think like EA is a huge machine. It's a huge corporate machine. Right. But the people that I've been working with, especially in the originals team, like they're the best. They play games, they live games, they love games. And I think like, if it wasn't for them and their kind of guiding hand in not only learning about the business of games, but also learning about, what it means to really, truly kind of create and conjure the pipelines and the production lines of making a game, it's been brilliant. Like, and I'm not even just saying that like because because I'm working with them, like I'm very honest in that front. But really, truly, I think the one thing that I've really respected and rated from them is the fact that they've allowed me to make mistakes. They've allowed me to do the things that probably a lot of other publishers would have turned around and been like, nope, that's it, we're pulling you, we don't want anything to do with you. Like they have been so lenient and so kind of guiding in that front. Like it's truly the reason why this game is here today. Because again, the first like game making is hard, man. Like by the time this has taken like nearly 4 years to make. In that time, I've done I did 2 seasons of TV for Raised by Wolves, had that cancelled, got House of the Dragon, did a film, did another film, Napoleon. I've done projects which have just kind of happened, but this game has been constantly being made in the background, right? So it's like it's a process, and to have that kind of time and space for people who are the first time making this game and trying to learn about it, like the patience they have has been incredible, man. Like it's been a really again, as I say, it's a massive machine. It's a huge corporation, but the people that I've worked with within the sort of the originals team have been like, I wish everyone had the experience that we had, because it's
awesome.
It's been really, really good, man. Really, just honestly, it's just about making a really lovely game and a lovely experience,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what's crazy, you was just mentioning you had to do these shows, these movies while doing the game. You was really out here wearing that you was wearing that moon and sun mask like crazy.
I'm telling you, man. Like, you know what? They've got, like, I think EA even themselves have videos of me in my silver latex suit, you know, telling them like they're like, how's the game going? And I'm there with my blue eyes and ginger hair. And like, it's great. Everything's fine.
You just got done doing the stiff run 10 minutes ago.
Oh my god,
Honestly.
man, that's great. That's
Honestly.
great. Well, so again with collaborations, I don't even know if like the chat knows about this, but I am a huge Critical Role fan. Like I am a D&D guy. So when I saw on the splash screen that it came out like support Ridley Scott, Critical Role, how did they help support what was their role in this? I'm so curious. I need to know.
For sure. So the Ridley Scott collaboration is going to be revealed soon.
Okay.
There, which is good there in regards to like kind of helping me in sort of branching or building this world into something really, really cool in regards to kind of open, you know, kind of that kind of vibe. So that's been really nice. And the Critical Role sort of help. It's funny. So with Critical Role, so I'm good friends with the actors there.
Nice.
And like I know them really well. I did work with them on the Legends of Vox Machina and all that kind of stuff. So
love that.
Which is like so great, man. Like such a great show. So, you know, I knew them from that. So that's been really, really good. And essentially the one thing that I've really respected about Critical Role and what they've built is like they've built essentially a franchise or a foundation that's solely just friends having fun. Like, you know, but it's friends having fun, but there's a structure to it, you know. And I think like something that's really, you know, that's something that I've really respected from the get-go, and that's one of the guiding hands that they've been kind of giving me, you know, during this time and during this kind of formation of this whole thing. So they've been really, really kind of instrumental on that. So yeah, that's sort of where they've aided and helped in that front. Plus, hey man, you never know, something more could happen. But again, I don't want to give all my cards away, you know. So,
keep it on
but
top.
yeah, but yeah, that's it. But yeah, but really, truly, they've kind of acted both, you know, Ridley Scott and the creative group and Critical Role. They've really kind of played more as mentors and kind of, you know, just North Stars in regards to how to sort of be unapologetically creative, I think is where they're kind of leaning, you know, what I'm learning from them, you know. Really creates these incredibly cool, daring worlds that you wouldn't necessarily see on screen, you know. Not only, you know, and I'm not even talking about like Alien and even Raised by Wolves, like even like, you know, films like Gladiator or even American Gangster, like they're classic good films that just like exude creativity. And I think like that's something that I really respect and kind of want to emulate with the work that I create too.
Man, you have a good team around you, man. Like you really do, man.
I've been
like
really blessed, man.
Yeah, like you're a beast all in itself, and then like having, man, there's gonna be some good things coming from you, man. Like in general, like that's super cool, man. I think I have one more, and Scale has one more. So we kind of talked about this at the very beginning about diversity and stuff like that. So diversity in gaming is both like in its creation and represented is a hot topic. So as a trailblazer, like what inspiring words or tips can you offer to Black individuals aspiring to make their mark in the gaming industry specifically?
Yeah. You know what? I think, okay. So something that I learned very quickly and very, very early on is that there's a lot of noise.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people and there's a lot of topics and there's a lot of things that are going to be thrown your way just regardless. And it is noise. What you've got to do is essentially find your own music within that noise and follow that beat, because ultimately that's all that matters. Right. Like, truly, that's all that matters. Like, I remember, the beginning of making this game, even after the EA deal and everything, and, getting this sort of thing sorted, and I was, pitching and telling people about it. And I remember people either saying like, oh, it's niche. Oh, not many people are, oh, you're trying to go for the Black Panther effect. It ain't going to happen. All this noise, right? That could have easily just deterred me and told me like, oh man, maybe I am selling out. Maybe this is actually a terrible idea. Like, what do I know? But I really had to just drown that out and just focus on, right, I want to tell a story, an authentic story about, the journey of grief. That's it. Just focus on that. As long as you can do that, no matter whether people like the game or they hate the game, the point is you're going to come out and feel like, nah, but I was honest to myself and I did myself true.
Right.
You stick on that lane, the world's your oyster. Nothing can deter you, because literally that's it. It's literally as long as you're happy with it, as long as you do your best and you do what you feel is great and you stick to that, you're immortal, man. Because I'm telling you, the amount of, and look, and like I could sit here for another hour and tell you of the trials and tribulations I went through to kind of actually, even after like the journey of getting this game, to where it is, and with the team and all this sort of stuff, the hustle, right? It's a lot. But I just literally just stuck to this idea of this, like, I just want to tell the story about my dead dad. Like, that's it. And even whenever I talk about it, whenever I go to these I remember getting like, we did this sort of media training thing, and people were asking like, okay, you might get asked like kind of serious, like kind of tricky questions and all this sort of stuff, and it's like, yeah, but I'm just here making an honest game, man. Like, there's no hidden agendas here. Like, that's it. And I think like as long as you can stick to that, and as long as you can truthfully say that, I think there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said all that. So what I'm going to do is the last 3 minutes that you just spoke, I'm gonna clip that and play that every morning to start my day.
Yeah. Good. Because it's important. I'm telling you, man. Like, I think that there is, and you know what? And the noise comes everywhere. Like, I think even again, I go back to being in drama school. Like, I remember at that time, like, it was all about being with the best agent, being with the best agent, being with the best agent. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, but what if that best agent doesn't like me? You know what I mean?
Right.
So again, you just focus on, right, I just want to do my job really good. I want to be, really want to do a good job. The agent who believes in me, they will find me. And he did. And I've stuck with my same agent since I graduated, because he's been solid with me, and I love him to bits. So it's like, it's all about just being honest with yourself and knowing like, this is my path. This is what I'm doing. No one can deter me from that.
Powerful, man.
Powerful words, man. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have you on every month, bro. You're feeding me right now.
Yeah. We'll conquer the world after this.
Right.
Oh man.
Oh man. All right, Skell, you got the last one, man.
So the title of the game is Tales of Kenzera, like a colon ZAU. I'm curious, do you guys have anything cooked up? I'm gonna just throw it in the air. We all want success for this game. I'm say after the success of this game, can we see Tales of Kenzera being a whole thing with sub?
Oh, man, everything. Like, I've got something cooking here, man. Like, they've unleashed a real, like, I'm telling you, look, as I said, like, I grew up, falling in love with, universes like Star Wars, with, the Discworld sort of series, like all the, Lord of the Rings, Middle Earth, that kind of vibe, Marvel. I'm a big Marvel, lover. I'm cool with DC too. Like, I love these universes. So if I had the chance to make one, why not do it? So here I am doing it.
Right.
I'm literally,
Man.
I've got to, as I say, like, I've got big plans with this world, and it's exciting. To me, it's like a chance to really do something that again inspires, again, the younger version of me, or a young kid like me, to do even cooler worlds like this. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing, right? If I can get another kid out there who who looks like me or who wants to just build a world like this, but even better, like, then I've done my job. So yeah, I'm going full with the Tales of Kenzera vibe. Like, I'm double downing on it a lot.
He's cooking. Love to hear
Definitely.
That is amazing, man. My final thing I kind of want to say about the game, though, is you mentioned this, and you said your father taught you a lot. Like, you was born in the UK. Your father taught you a lot about your homeland, right? And I feel like, and this may be like cliche, but I feel like that's what this game will be for us, right? Like, it'll be our Baba telling us about our homeland in a certain way, you know what I mean? And we need more stuff like this in this space, you know what I mean?
I was very proud to play it too. It felt proud. I felt proud playing this game.
Man,
like, I get to learn. Man, I finally want to learn. Like,
an awesome main character, you know what I'm saying, that looks like me, you know, and it was very nice to be able to do that. Just sit down and play a black character, because that don't happen that often. You know, and a hero character don't happen that often either. So
with Mythos at that, like, this is what us three have been wanting this for a long time. So we can say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey man, of course. And look, as I say, like, I want more of this, right?
Yes.
I want to see more of it. Like, I think that's the key here. The you know, as I say, I want someone to turn around and play the game and be like, yeah, that was good, but I can do better, and, like, you know, bring something big, you know. And I think it's inspire more stories, and I think that's kind of why I you know, I'm doing this. It is literally just to inspire someone else to do something, you know, to do something more. Again, like, I remember being told again at drama school, one of my teachers told me that, like, whenever you go on stage, there's going to be someone in the audience who it's the first time they've ever seen a theater show, or it's going to be someone's last ever theater show that they'll ever see. And so and that's going to be every day. So you've got to put your heart in it and move someone in some way, shape, or form. And I've just taken that, you know, that kind of mantra, that philosophy with me everywhere. Like, you know, if I've only got one chance of making a game like this, like, and I've got to do it, because it could inspire someone else who's going to make something like this, or it could put someone's mind at rest of being like, oh man, now I feel seen, or, like, you know, now it's making something. So it's like, so yeah, it's incredibly important to kind of to tell these stories, because it invites other people to the conversation. And I think, like, that's kind of why I'm doing it. And it's not even, and I'm not even talking about even just the African element of it. I'm talking even about this young kid talking about grief. Like, you know what I mean? Like, talking about, like, opening up and actually saying, hey man, I'm hurting. Like, you never really get that. So I just, like, you know, so there is that element as well that plays into it too.
Yeah. Man, you bar for bar, man. You just don't, you just golly, boy. I need your speech coach, man. Like, taking over the world after this, man. I swear. Man. So we're close to the end. I want to go ahead. If you guys didn't know, whenever we get donations from super chats or anything of that nature, we are doing a fundraiser. So at the end of the year, we're giving away all kinds of gaming gear to the local Boys and Girls Club. All money, we're working for free this year. So I'm gonna go ahead and read off of some of these super chats really quick, and then we can get Mr. Salim on his way to his family. Bounty hits us with a $5 super chat. Sorry I can't be here, but I already bought the game. It's been a long time since I did a pre-order, but it's going to be worth it. Love supporting my own.
Wagwan.
I love that, man. Love that. Thank you.
Adidas 20 member for 2 months says salute.
Beautiful.
And he also $5 super chat says congrats to Salim.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yes. Rocket Scientist with the $2 Canadian. Just remember your game will be Tox. Laughing out loud for the kids. Oh, Rocket Scientist.
Appreciate that.
My big homie Web Day says the game looks amazing. It's a must buy for me.
Yeah. Oh, man.
$2 super chat from him. And then we got a $10 super chat from Dr. J, Mr. H88. It says, love the African culture front and center in this game. Much needed, in my opinion. One can only play knights and ninjas for so long.
Samurai is wrong, bro. It's samurai, bro.
Yeah, he said any plans to make more games in this medium?
Yes.
Yes.
Sounds
You
like
heard
a
him.
yes.
You
He
heard
said
him.
he's cooking. He's cooking. I listen, I cannot, again, super proud of you. Everything that you've accomplished. Such a young age, man. Like, the sky's the limit for you. 100%. Like, I mean that shit, Salim. I really do, man. Like,
no, I believe it. I
the
really do,
limit.
man. Thank you. Thank you.
And then Flush Jackson just hit us with a 20. I'm not doing no horn right now, my brother, but
We owe you one.
We owe you one. He said, for the kids, have to make sure they have Kenzera in their lineup. 100%. I will be copping them for them in December, man. 100%. Thank you so much for that 20. So with that, Mr. Salim, tell us when the game's dropping, what we can expect, what platforms it'll be on.
Yeah,
we are so excited. Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Tales of Kenzera ZAU is dropping under a month, April 23rd of this year, and it'll be on all platforms.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Good to say that.
Yes, it's so good, man. Yeah, we're excited. Everybody in the chat, this isn't going to be our only show. We'll be doing our normal show on Thursday. It's Nova's birthday bash. So you guys can see us at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Again, Mr. Salim, Abu, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show.
Thank you,
means so much to us. I think you dropped a lot of bars. I'm about to clip the hell out of this this show, man.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Scale, Nova, did you guys have anything before we end?
Thank you very much. I can't wait to play the game. I'm literally a fan of your acting, and I can't wait to finish the game. The game it was a tease. I was like, oh, I need it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, though. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, man. As a person who loves some video games, man, and would potentially like to make one day, this is definitely an inspiration for me, man. Seriously, this is huge. And just seeing you on the big screen and all the other places is an inspiration in itself to see somebody who looks like me, conquering the world like they are, dude. So I'm glad the EA definitely gave you guys this opportunity to make such a piece of art already, man. And this is a great first step to start off on. So
thank you.
Fantastic. All right, so we'll set you up. I do have one last question. It's very simple, very easy, in and out. Game of Thrones, Team Green or Team Black?
Team Black. Come on, man.
Okay, let's go.
Why are you even asking me that question?
Hey, my boy Everborn wanted me to ask, so I had to do it. I got you. Team Black all day. I got you. All right. Peace out, everybody. Again, Mr. Salim, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Take care.